When the gun goes off, sometimes you get a bit excited. What I try to do is I try to find a good pair of feet that I can sit on for the swim most of the time, so you save some energy there. SUB-5 is pretty good target. I think any amateur who can do SUB-5 is pretty fit. But for beginners, I think finishing a half Ironman is an achievement in itself already. Don't worry too much about the time. Enjoy yourself out there. You've put in a lot of training for it. For the folks who are more experienced, folks who have done a SUB-6, couple of half Ironmans, aiming for that SUB-5, I think the key thing one can really do is focus a lot on your bike training. The bike is probably the biggest part of the half Ironman itself. Pay more attention to that. Push your long rides out, do tempo rides, do hard rides, and also most importantly, do your break runs. Your running and your cycling at the end of the day accounts for most of the race. In a week, generally I hit 15 to 20 hours, can go up to 25 hours. Between three disciplines, I try to work off 3-4-4 or 4-4-4 sort of system, where most weeks are covering three swims or 4 swims if there's time, 4 bikes and also 4 runs. The swims, you probably have one long swim, another swim that focuses a bit more on speed, and the other swim is probably a mixture of the speed. And on the bike, there's the weekend, you might do up to 2 long rides, so you cover about 7-8 hours of riding on the weekends. One ride is generally a bit more social, a bit steadier, while the other ride you could be out there for 4 to 5 hours, focusing on your half Ironman effort. And then the other 2 or 3 rides, probably trainer ride, and you can do a bit more focus work, hard intervals, VO2 work, half Ironman power work. So and those are mostly done indoors. And then for running, it's also quite similar. You probably have a break run on the weekends combined with the bike, a long runs maybe on Sunday, 2.5 hours, and then the other 1 or 2 runs in the week. Do a little bit of speed work. When the gun goes off, sometimes you get a bit excited. What I try to do is I try to find a good pair of feet that I can sit on for the swim most of the time, so you save some energy there. And then once you come out on the bike, pay attention to your heart rates and wattages. Look back on your training to see what sort of heart rates and wattages you can hold that allows you to produce a good run off the bike. I think there are cases where I bike too hard but not able to produce a good run. So I think what's key really there is try to have a steady swim. Don't get too excited. When you're on the bike, pay attention to how you're feeling, your heart rates, especially in the heat here, your power. If your heart rate is too high, dial it back down, at least for the first part, so that everything is able to settle down. And then on the run, really, it's what you've got left in the tank, really. So you just try to push as hard as you can towards. That's generally how I try to race. Still experimenting a bit on controlling the effort on the bike. The best way to race the race is to have a balanced swim, bike and run. The 2 that I can think of, I guess first one is not eating or drinking enough, right? Which leaves you feeling quite flat for the run, and biking or swimming too hard. That's the other mistake you can make, because if you swim too hard, it impacts your bike and your run. At the same time, if you bike too hard, then it impacts your run also. So I think those are the 2 mistakes I've made the most and I can tell people about. So as I mentioned, the ways to overcome the mistake is make sure you control your effort on the swim, try to stay relaxed, and when you come out the bike, pay attention to how you're feeling, look at your heart rate, look at your powers, see where you're going with that. And if you need to, take things down a notch so you're able to relax a bit more, especially in the first half of the bike. I think it's a good place, still a very challenging race because of the heat. Swim is also not the flattest because you're swimming in the exposed sea, so you get swells and all. But the bike, I think it's pretty friendly because it's straight out, not too many hills. It's a bit lumpy but generally okay. And as usual, the weather is always hot here, and the run on a hot day can be quite challenging. So I say overall, it's a good place to do your first, because once you've done it there, then you feel that races anywhere else in other parts of the world will feel quite easy because you don't have to deal with the heat and all. And at the same time also, it's a great place for folks to bring their family. It's a nice getaway, not too far out from KL. So I say overall, putting everything in, pretty good place to do your first 70.3. Best mental preparation you can have is knowing that you've done all your training. That gives you the confidence going into the race day. I mean, for me, if I get a bit nervous, I'll just look back on the last 3 or 4 months and see how much training I've done and know that I've prepared as best as I can. That really is the best form of mental training, I feel, yeah.